what happened with Christians, Aquinas and church fathers and the Cappadonian church fathers. But the problem we say is here, yeah, is we say God Almighty, we can't attain knowledge of the unseen, especially in regards to Himself, unless He reveals Himself. In some instances,
I think,
not all. I'm not talking all.
yeah,
But I
mean,
mean,
maybe
actually,
that's true.
yeah.
Maybe that's true. Like the very way in which He created the universe,
Yeah.
we can't know that.
How does, for example, Christianity reads that God is jealous, that God has a face, God is like a man, and then say, oh, God is ethereal, He doesn't have a body, or like He's in a divine simplicity.
I don't want to get too philosophical, but when they say these things, when they predicate like these characteristics to God, they're only predicating it analogically, univocally.
But the problem is they make there at that point, yeah, because they believe the Bible is inspired. They then make Plato, Aristotle, Plotinus, they make them their lords.
No, they
Because
use the ideas as grounds for further Christian thought, but they don't worship Plato.
no, I don't mean it as that. No. But the moment that they deny what's in the Bible, as in certain clear verses, I believe they give precedence to these philosophers.
No, I don't think so. I think they reinterpret the things in the Bible
Under the scope, yeah. But that's wrong. But this is a very, it's good you said it. That's the point I'm making. Like as in anyone, a Trinitarian could pick, they do try to look through this book from the biased lens, and then they come to conclusions which are erroneous.
Well, I mean, one good argument I've heard is that the reason why Christians, and I know that Shia Muslims,
Yeah.
Christians and Shia Muslims, they both accept divine simplicity. It's because it gives like philosophical problems if you don't accept divine simplicity.
But it falls into philosophical problems.
Yeah, so if you don't accept,
No,
divine
if you
simplicity-
accept it, you fall into problems.
if you accept divine simplicity, no.
Yeah.
No. I know there's a modal collapse argument for divine simplicity, but that was solved by.
Another thing. But what about the argument God is His property? You know, when you say God is His attributes or God is His property, that means God is property, A'udhu Billah. We don't believe it.
No.
This is one of the arguments that Platinger.
No, I know, but no.
Why?
When they say like take mercy, when they say God is mercy, they're saying mercy and God is identical. They're not saying property and God.
No, but you know, attributes. Right now we said attribute, but when you look at the language they use, it's called property.
Property attribute.
Yeah, so then God is His property. And there's another one where the claps thing, but you said you can explain. Anyway, point is, from my point as a Muslim, we believe Allah has attributes, sifat. We believe that mankind doesn't know this sifat unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He teaches us this sifat. So like science has its place, philosophy has its place. The problem with the other religions, whether it's the Torah or the Bible, none of these are revelation. They don't even claim to be revelation. Inspiration maybe, they can argue. But the Quran claims to be revelation from God. One God, the worship of only one God. You know? So this is what Islam, yeah. This is it, the Trinity we say no.
I understand, but
Because even they have the logical Trinity problem, which you know.
I know, but they've solved those problems. They're not.
But every time you solve one problem, then you've got a host of other problems.
Sometimes
Yeah.
that's true. But in this case, the LPT.
So this
I've
is
heard a lot of Christians that I know personally. They've got like arguments against it. They've got like open contexts where they talk about how particular like laws of identity are not transitive. And
But what about you as a person, you?
Me as a person.
What stops you from Islam?
Well,
Because I can't speak to you on the philosophy, I don't know.
Look, I think I'm actually getting more and more
Closer.
closer to believing in some kind of God.
Yeah,
But
may
I
Allah
think
guide
the
you
type
and
of
us.
God I would believe in wouldn't be an Islamic God.
What type of God?
I think it would be like what's called a classical theist.
Okay, yeah.
So it's very, very, very different.
But don't you fall into the problem, educate me, that you're again boxing yourself. Because the Mu'tazila and the Ash'ari, which you know about, yeah, and like Ja'ad bin Dirham and Safwan bin Jahan bin Safwan, they say that they interacted or argued with humanist and philosophers and so on. That the problem here is that they adopted the language of Aristotle. Aristotle came with the 10 categories, yeah? Placing, position, quality, quantity, having, affection, action, relation and time. Now, once you say all of these are arad, which means incidents, yeah, as you know, yeah?
Maybe accidents.
Incident and accident usually is used synonymously as well. Yeah.
Familiar with Aristotle says there are proper actions.
Yeah. So these are 10 categories. 10 مقولات. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
There's 4 main categories.
Yeah, so the Muslims absorb, some Muslims, and this is why we say it's heretical, they absorb these ideas and then they say these are, Allah can't have these. Because Aristotle told us that these are
Well,
accidents.
it's not that Aristotle is like telling you. Aristotle's making
No,
arguments.
yeah, yeah.
What
For
happens
syllogisms,
is-
yeah.
Yeah, but obviously what happens is the arguments, they are true. I'll be honest. These arguments, like if you deny particular things that Aristotle says, then your belief system just doesn't make any sense. Like Aristotle would say, for example, all things are composed of matter and form. That's true. If they're not composed of matter and form, why are they composed?
No, but then again, they say things like this, as you know, there's a world of forms.
Oh, that's Plato. That's not Aristotle.
Yeah, there's Plato, yeah. Oh, you believe everything that
Oh
Aristotle...
no, so there's different.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Both Aristotle and Plato.
But doesn't they
really-
can, my point is that they can err. They can make mistake.
Of course they can.
Yeah.
We can only do what we can, or we can only go off what we know. And what we know is all the things we discover. Like no one would ever claim that, just because the Bible or the Quran has never said squared circles can't exist, that
Huh?
it's
So
not
say
something that
squared circles can't exist.
Yeah.
It means, are you saying it could?
they can't.
Okay.
But I'm saying just because the Quran never says that, or just because the Bible never says that, that doesn't mean that that's something that we know God can't be. It's something that isn't going to be true. So they use these philosophical arguments as the ground to interpret the things from the Quran. Because if the Quran or the Bible is true, then they should follow the things we see in reality, right? So the point is that when they interpret things from the Quran or the Bible, they do it through the lens of what they can understand about the world. So I think.
But this is where we say the limitations of humans is that.
And that's
Yeah, this is a position, you probably already know it. But because if you look through the lens of a Trinitarian at anything, everything is free. They say man is composed of flesh and spirit, and so thus it's evidence that Trinity exists. You know?
Trinitarianism is only to do with the structure of the Godhead, but they don't talk about that anything. Some people.
No, some people do. Even the church
Yeah, I know,
father,
I know.
there's threes in everything.
but there's
You know what I mean? The church
sects in
father.
every religion.
Yeah, I know, but this is what I'm saying. Like, use through the lens of something changes your view of
That's
the
true.
world. Yeah.
So what we need to do then is we need to look at the lens, see if the lens is actually accurate. See if there's any
But
problem.
this is where in Islam we say kalamullah. It's the speech of Allah. This is what we say. And this is our approach. So one is that human inquiry can attain ultimate truth and knowledge, like divine truth and knowledge. Whereas we say, no, it can be useful as a tool to a certain degree, logic, maths, etc. But it has its limitations, like sifat, khabariya, like we don't know exact sifat, the adjectives or descriptions.
There's
Or,
some things that I think we can definitely know to its core, and other things that are maybe just yet to be discovered. It's just, there are philosophers that I read sometimes, and before they come about, no one has ever spoken about what they spoke about before, and it turns out to be true. And then later on in years, physicists go back to philosophers.
but sometimes it has overturns as well.
I mean, that can-
Like
that can-
it believed to be true.
well, not the whole entire.
Yeah.
philosophy, but particular-
No, but even it could be the whole, we don't know. But it's because we rejig elements of
But we
it.
can only do to be rational is to have your beliefs comport with the evidence that we have, and to be the most rational is to believe on the evidence that we have. The evidence that we have is the works of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates.
Do you think from, let's say someone calls you now on your phone. Yeah, it's just a simple analogy. Yeah? Someone calls your phone and speaks to you. Do you think philosophically you can attain how that person looks like? In terms of attributes. If you can't do that with
What do
it.
you mean, like what the person, how the actually
Yeah,
looks? So I
attributes.
can tell that like there's going to be some things I can know about someone calling me.
Yeah, the voice,
It could be a
yeah,
person,
It could even be AI, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can
So if you
tell
can't,
something
if you
about-
can't derive that using philosophy, all of these technical tools, yeah, how can we use it? Like, 'cause I just want to
Using
ask.
science,
No.
It's not the case it's impossible that I can figure out who the person on the end.
No, I mean their attributes, how they look, whether they have two legs. You can make the assumption it's a human. Do you get what I'm saying?
If they're human, then they're going to participate.
You can imagine that they've got two hands and two legs, but maybe they don't.
I know. What
You
you're
know,
saying,
get it?
but this is just skepticism. I mean, there are some things that we can know, and there are things that we
No,
can't.
but
One of the things that we can know.
ليس كمثله شيء, because we're talking about divine being who's not like anything else. So this is where the complexity comes in. You get it?
That's fine. I mean, there were loads of arguments, like in the Quran, for example, that proves at least some kind of first mover. Aristotle has an argument for a first mover. Aquinas has an argument for what God's being is. They don't say God is a.
Could you just, what was the argument of anti-realists that some things are just in language? They don't exist in reality.
Oh, you're talking
Or
about
some things exist in ideas.
something like
It's like they don't really exist.
Well, I mean, that's not.
Do you
just-
think that could be?
That's definitely there's a lot of truth.
So how
to
do
that.
we determine? That's the thing. It's like,
It's a whole philosophy of.
but,
it's
but
like
my point, that's what I'm
Derrida
saying. So we can appreciate the extent of it, of any discipline, but we have to know its limits, like science.
No, that's true.
Yeah, science can't explain everything. It's dogmatic.
that's true.
You know that especially as a philosopher because the basis in it. And likewise, Ghazali wrote about this. You know Ghazali as well. You know his story.
Ghazali.
Yeah, yeah.
He's the first guy to think of the Quran.
Abu Hamid, yeah. Do you know what? You know as he how he died? They say.
No, I'm not too familiar with his life. I'm
Yeah.
familiar with his
So
philosophy.
he becomes one of the most eminent persons in philosophy, as you know. And then he writes the incoherence of the philosophers. And thereafter he dies, yeah, not long after, complaining that he reached the withering heights of philosophy. But huh? He didn't. I think at his time it was classed as thing,
At
even
his
up to
time,
yeah, of course.
I mean, I don't know.
No, but you can't stand on the. You can't. You can't.
Aristotle.
Yeah. But you can't. Yeah. I'm not saying not at his time. I mean, he said he reached, and even.
He was around, when was he alive?
I'm not here to promote Ghazali. That's not. My point is that he reached a very high level. Yeah.
But he only delved into a very small part of philosophy.
And he goes, because I don't know what he actually did, but he goes on to say that there's limits of philosophy. And his story was he ended up going back to the Quran and the Hadith. He says, I returned to my people, like really rejected and
He
dejected.
returned with his philosophy. He wouldn't deny, for example, that I don't know, God is a being like how we are. No,
I don't know.
He would never say something like that.
No. I said, we don't
Return
believe
with
like that.
I know, but he would still keep his tradition in light of reading particular things.
And then how long we've spoken for a while. Let's catch up afterwards or something. Continue. It's nice speaking to you, man. Yeah. HAMZA, yeah? HAMZA. What are you up?
Praise the Most High.
Yeah.
I heard you say something about the scriptures when it comes to the Bible saying that God has hands and feet and stuff like that, eyes and ears.
Yeah.
He got angry, he got jealous, he's most graceful and stuff like that. I just wanted to, know. I just wanted to know because for me as a Messianic Jew, I do believe in Jesus. To let you know, I don't believe he's.
Oh, you're not Muslim?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you confused. Heck out of me. I thought you were Muslim all this time.
No. So, yeah, Messianic Jew, so I believe in Jesus.
Come stand, but my hearing is, you lot shout, man.
I don't believe Jesus is God. Don't believe he's in a Trinity, anything like that, just so you know. So, when it comes to your comments about him being angry, merciful, jealous, or he has eyes, ears, a head, a nose, the Bible does make these statements, but for us, we understand it to be an anthropomorphic language, which means God speaks a human language, so we can understand it. So, my main question would be why don't you believe Jesus died? That would be the main question for me.
The problem,
anything else
yeah,
would be
yeah. But hold on to that thought. It's a good question. Why are you a Jew?
I'm a Jew.
Your ethnicity, Sephardi, yeah. Okay. So is it only for the Jews or it's for everyone? So I can become a Jew. I don't want to be like a servant in heaven.
You'll become Jewish.
Yeah?
You'll fully become Jewish.
Yeah. I'm not interested, to be honest, but I'm just saying hypothetically. From what I understood is that if someone is like you're not on the same level as an actual Jew, if a convert converts into Judaism, yeah, they're not seen as fully Jewish. And this is even what Justin Martyr, he mentions of the Jews when he has a dialogue with Tripod the Jew. And Tripod the Jew, it may not be real, but he's claiming there's two types of Jews. One is like a Hellenized one, whatever, there's two different types of Jews. And some will say like those who embrace Judaism, they become the servants of,
I wouldn't agree with that because Torah says whether you are converted Jew or
what do you believe is Torah?
Torah is the first 5 books of Moses.
But that's not written by Moses.
I believe it is.
I'm not trying to debate, don't you?
Yeah. I believe it is, just from our old tradition. And I would say this for certain, we don't have the actual physical copy that Moses wrote, but we have copies of the physical copy that Moses wrote. So I believe that we still have the same Torah. But for example, in Numbers 15 to 16, it tells you that there's no difference between a converted Jew and there's no difference between an actual quote-unquote ethnic Jew. We see the same sentiment in Esther chapter 8, verses 16 and 17. These people converted to Judaism and they were known as Yahad, the Jews. I mean, so I don't see a difference. They won't be servants, nothing like that. But yeah.
So okay. So going back to the source, which is the books. So it says Moses died in the land of Moab. Now, who wrote this? Would it be Moses?
I believe that Joshua wrote this.
Okay, but based on what tradition? Just oral tradition?
Not necessarily oral tradition. I actually believe...
But did you hear when I said some people believe to the guy? Yeah, that Joshua wrote the ending of...
So, the reason why I believe Joshua did write the ending, chapters of Deuteronomy is because it's just logically we have to accept that he did. In the book of Deuteronomy itself, it says that Moses placed his hands on Joshua and anointed Joshua to be able to do so. I think that's in chapter 34, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, to get away from that point, if we look at how it's ended, we can see that it's a person writing about this thing, not actually Moses doing it. And I believe that that's actually the whole case throughout the whole book of Deuteronomy. I don't believe Moses actually writ Deuteronomy personally. I don't believe he actually writ Genesis personally. The same with Jeremiah. Jeremiah didn't write the book of Jeremiah personally. He had someone that's known as a scribe that would write it. For example, when you read the book of Exodus and the rest of it, you'll see that Joshua was going up onto the Mount Sinai with Moses to basically watch what Moses was doing and write it down. That's what the Torah consists of.
So this Torah, yeah? So we had the time of the book of Maccabees, so we know about the history. So you had there was a strong Hellenization of the Jews in that region, and they fought against this. That's why you had the Maccabean revolt, yeah? They lost their language, they lost their circumcision, they lost their Bible.
Do you know that?
The degradation of it started before, but they lost their Bible, and then in the time afterwards, when they came into power, which is known as the Hasmonean dynasty, their Bible came back. It got translated into what is now known as the Septuagint, because they say there's 5 scribes. One of the kings of Vegas' name is 5 scribes from each tribe, which is something like 70.
Right.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah, it was chosen to translate from the. So you had the original Hebrew. But from that, they translated into the Greek, yeah, the Septuagint, yeah. But then thereafter, the Hebrew was lost forever. And then the Hebrew you have now is based upon that Latin one.
No,
it is. I'm not asking. Like this, I'm quite sure.
So then, what would you say about the Dead Sea Scrolls? The Dead Sea Scrolls are from Septuagint, and it's the Hebrew version.
But it's not a full. So the Dead Sea Scrolls, yeah, they're a number of books. There are a number of books, yeah.
There's only one book that's not in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's the book of Esther.
I think also the Shepherd of Hermas, is it? The Shepherd of Hermas.
That's the New Testament. That's a New Testament oral tradition. That's not actually a part of the Old
No, it's not oral because it's part of the Septuagint that we have in the British thing. But okay.
That was added in after 70 AD. It wasn't even written beforehand. So, for example, right?
So let me just get this straight. You don't believe? What's he dressed like that? You lot are confusing me. I saw all you lot confused. So you don't believe that you lost the original Hebrew at any time? Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. Because the Septuagint was written, they say, approximately 400 BCE, 300 BCE, right? And the Dead Sea Scrolls is the Hebrew version of that, and it was written in the same time period. So if we say
that's sorry to cut you. Yeah, the reason I cut you is because Dead Sea Scrolls is compiled of many of them, all carbon dating to different dates. You get it? So when you say the Dead Sea Scrolls,
when I say the Dead Sea Scrolls, I'm specifically referring to the 66 books, which would be the Old Testament. Those
But even those
66
were
books,
written at different times.
they weren't.
Oh, of course
When
not.
you do the
Carbon
carbon
dating.
dating, they approximately range it around 400 to 300 BCE. The rest of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which would be like the community guidelines, their
Oh
own
yeah, the
tradition,
community rule, yeah.
that would be the ones that vary from, let's say, 300 BCE to the first AD. That's what really varies in the date.
I'll have
So-
to double check that, because from what I understood from Jewish scholars was that the original Hebrew is lost. What they have is a translated one from the Latin, or the Greek one, sorry.
You would be talking about the Aleppo Codex. The Aleppo Codex.
I'll have to double check on that, but from what I
I'll give you
understood.
another one, the Masoretic text. There's a couple others.
Yeah,
Those specific
yeah.
ones, they take information from the Septuagint. So I would
Yeah,
agree
yeah,
with you
the Masoretic text, yeah. Yeah. So maybe I have to check the families, yeah, the families.
there. So then, back to my question though. What's the Muslims? They don't believe Jesus died, and where does that
Okay, so it depends what approach we want to take when we answer this question. So now when you say Jesus died, if you say he's God, then we say how can God die? This is, I'm not debating, I'm just saying multiple reasons, yeah? There are early groups of Christianities that didn't believe Jesus died, like the Scythians, and they have their own gospels, like the Gospel of Peter is the one they use. Another one is what John Dominic Crossan calls the Cross Gospel as well. F.F. Bruce, when he examines these Gospels, he's a scholar, he says all of these ring with familiarity of the Quranic idea that Jesus was not killed nor was he crucified. So it can be explained from that perspective, but I'm still not doing that. When you have Jesus on the cross, yeah, he said, Lord, Lord, why do you forsake me? Again, this doesn't sound like a tone of a prophet that was sent by God to do his bidding. It sounds like someone rebellious. Even from a Christian theological point of view, the idea that God became man and then died and was crucified and forsaken, as he said, why do you forsake me? And he died as the death of a curse, and he entered into the earth as Jonah was in the belly of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. So shall the Son of Man be in the belly for 3 days, 3 nights. That is just ridiculous idea if you think he's Jesus. If you think he's just a prophet, even this becomes problematic, because his plea was, let this cup pass me by, be it your will, not my will. Him dying for sins, because this is the reason you need a crucifixion, is to remit us from our sins, which wasn't done by you. It's the inheritance of the nature of sin by Adam. This idea that sin is, you are burdened with sin because of someone else, is extremely unorthodox of Islam. Even Isaiah, in the book of Isaiah, it says, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. No man bear the sin of the father, and no son bear the sin of no man bear the sin of the father, and no son the other way around. So it's like, how can someone die for your sin, which isn't a sin in the first place? So that's another argument, yeah? If you look at it from the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they all start contradicting themselves really, really badly at that point on, yeah? So, so for example, you have like historically the Sanhedrin. It violates what we have, the Sanhedrin in the Bible, or the scribed Sanhedrin in the Bible. It violates almost 30 Sanhedrin or Mosaic laws. Example, the timing of it. Yeah, they say this. Some Christians try to say, oh, it's because it was a legal one. Unlikely, but let's say it is. For example, it was house, the high priest's house, illegal. Held at night time, illegal. Held at Passover or the day before Passover, illegal. And there's so many others to make the story of the Sanhedrin either sound like they've done a legal Sanhedrin, which is unlikely, yeah, or that it didn't really happen. So then you go to Pilate. Now every historical record we have of Pilate is that he was merciless. Every record. But then we have the Pilate saying, oh, I wash my hands of the blood of Jesus, and he gives him back to the Jews. Unlikely historical behavior of Pilate. He would not give it to the Jews, and nor would he wash his hands saying, I am free of this man's blood. He didn't care about a Jewish man from Nazareth. It goes on to say, there's a story that there was that every year that every year the habit of Pilate was to release a prisoner. No, it wasn't.
I mean, that is actually a custom of the Jews.
Yes, but not of Pilate.
Not of Pilate. Well,
so he frees. There's so many. This is what I'm saying. Even if we engage in ones like I'm still
There's
left
so
with
many,
it. Yeah.
right.
Barabbas, for example. Let me tell me when you had enough of me. Yeah?
No, I'm a listen.
Like Barabbas. So now they say he frees Barabbas, a known rebel, a man who's murderer, and the crowd want Barabbas to go instead of Jesus. Barabbas means the son of the Father. This is what Jesus is, the son of the Father. It becomes like, hold on, he's Barabbas, he's the son of the Father as well. Jesus, you know? So is this a play on words? Does this guy really exist? Then you had Joseph of Arimaeus, a figure we've never heard of. From Arimaeus, a place we've never heard of. We don't know where this Arimaeus is. Now it says he's from the Sanhedrin, the same hand Sanhedrin, which the Gospel says all of them from the Sanhedrin condemned him. But then all of us inside he feels sorry and he wants to bury him. That Joseph of Arimaeus.
Yes, I know
And this is the only purpose of Joseph of Arimaeus in the Bible. He serves no other purpose. He comes to provide a burial, because if you have a burial, then you can say that he did die. If you can say he did die, then he did die for your sins. And it goes on more.
So this is what I would say.
Like as in,
I mean, I understand.
that, I
everything you're
haven't even,
saying.
you know what I mean?
Everything you're saying.
Yeah.
And
There's so much more.
I think, for me, I don't believe Jesus is a substitution atonement. I don't believe that. My belief and what the Bible literally says is that Jesus died because of wicked men. Meaning, best way I can put it.
Come a bit closer, man. I've not got
Yeah,
COVID or anything.
Let's say I'm a bit sick. That's
No,
fine.
no, I'm fine.
So
I'll keep us safe.
Of course. Make good. Always keep us safe. So, my understanding is actually this: that the wicked people that killed Jesus weren't meant to do so, but they did it anyway because they follow their own heart. This means, and this is what Isaiah 53 says. This means that actually, when they killed Jesus, this